Jessie Bates is back at the Bengals practice. We'll talk about that and more on the preseason coming up next on the Wincinnati podcast.
Yes. Hello, world. We got a special show as always. TJ Houshmandzada, Jimmy Chase, Coach Jimmy Burrow.
Time to be a Bengals
How do
fan.
you balance being a professional athlete and family obligation? These are top 5 Bengals of all time.
All time, man. Yeah. Shock the world.
Welcome to the Wincinnati podcast. I'm your host, Ace Boogie. He is my co-host, Zim. Zim, say what's up.
Hello, world. Did you miss me? I'm back.
Back off that vacation, man. Vacation was good for you?
Man, it was really good, man. I'm so thankful for my family, bro. Like, we do this Bengals stuff so hard that I just got a chance to, get it away for a second. I still posted some stuff here and there or whatever, but, just focusing on just chilling with the fam, whatever. Oh, my God, that's so amazing, bro. It's incredible. So I got a chance to hit the reset button. I told my wife, I said, man, as soon as I come back, I'm going to stop yelling at people online. As soon as I got to the airport, I was back on them. And I can't be stopped. And I don't know what to do with myself because I'm really excited about the season. I've never been as confident as a Bengal fan, and I feel really good about that. But like I said, I got a reset. I feel like I'm in a good space. I hope everybody's in a good space too. Thank y'all for rocking with us again. Here we are.
For sure. Yeah, man. I'm glad that you were able to spend that time with the fam. And like you said, as soon as you hit that airport, you was on them. And if you aren't following Zim on Twitter at ZimHude, please be sure to check that out. Follow me on Twitter at New Stripe City. We have that recording posted just in case you guys missed it. But if you are watching, we appreciate you tuning in to the Wincinnati podcast. Please hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, jump in the comments. We got the live chat going right now. But up for today's show, we got to talk about JB3 being back. That's right. Jessie Bates back in the Bengals facilities, especially after all of the hype from this offseason is finally back. So we're going to talk about that. We'll also talk about Cordell Volson making his case to make the roster. Where's he at? Is he going to be starting? How did he look in that preseason game? We'll definitely get into that. And then we'll also talk about more of our own thoughts on the preseason coming up next.
Let's go! Let's go! Let's go! Let's go!
All right, Jessie Bates is back. He signed his franchise tender today. He's officially back in the fold. What do you think this means, Zim, for Jessie Bates stepping back in? Because the Bengals have been using Daxton Hill, who has been playing pretty well there. What is Jessie's role when he comes back, and what is Dak's role based off of that?
Man, I feel like it's been a blessing in disguise. We told everybody. I don't even know if it was in a disguise. I feel like the Bengals fans was hip to what Mike Brown does. He doesn't fold, so we kind of knew how this was going to play out. Either you got to send us a stupid, lucrative deal, or the Bengals will just fall back on it and don't pay him the 13 mil. We've had a lot of different sources throughout this whole time tell us that, hey, Bates is going to come back. I actually thought he would wait like another week or two, but I thought it was fitting that he came right back in time for these joint practices where starters are actually playing. I wonder if he'll get involved with that. I don't think so. I think that's kind of crazy. But aside from that, I feel like allowing your first round draft pick to get that live ammo and to come out of that healthy. And we've seen Daxton Hill play this past week, 23 snaps in the free safety position, 8 in the box, 8 in the slot, versatility, gets an interception, comes up on an RPO play, comes up and makes another key tackle to force a fourth down. So you're seeing the coverage ability. It makes him not only a swift Army knife, it makes him now an educated player at all of these different positions. And I just feel really good about our safety, trio. And at this point, August 23rd, I'm willing to say, outside of the wide receivers and outside of quarterback, I would say that safety might be the next best group on our team at this point. A healthy safety group of Daxton Hill, Von Bell, and Jessie Bates is a cheat code. Like, I just really feel like the versatility of what we're doing and what we've been doing, as we saw in our playoff run, is now at a whole nother level. And there's some teams that me and you were just talking to about, before the show. I think they match up really well in dime packages for teams that want to exclusively throw or have an improvising quarterback. You're allowing coverage with Daxton Hill to go sideline to sideline. You're allowing your free safety to be the center fielder so nothing goes deep. And you're allowing Von Bell to come up in the box when he sees fit. You also still keep Logan Wilson on the field. And then you got Osai, Hendrickson and company and then NASCAR package as well, too. So I feel like the level of packages, and that's just one. You could run a two-man fronts, 3-man fronts, and allow Dax Hill to kind of get into this rogue linebacker look. But I think it's amazing. I've always said that. I think it's really dope. You got depth pieces like Tyson Anderson behind it. I think the secondary group is super underrated.
Yeah, I think with Jessie Bates, it just really brings back one of the leaders of the defense. I know we had a Didi on a few months ago, and she talked about how important he was to the locker room. We talked about the familiarity with the defense. Now we have our guy on the back end leading. He's also going to serve as a mentor for Dex. But I think that this just allows us to, like you said, look extremely unique and line up with a lot of people. I know myself, when I was watching what Daxton Hill was doing in that game, the one thought I think that everybody was thinking was, I can't wait to see him with Jessie Bates, like them together. Because when you put those two together, it's just crazy. And then you think about Von Bell. I honestly feel like a lot of people slept on Von Bell last year. He really had elite year, I think, for his standards in terms of where he played at last year. He actually, during the regular season, outplayed Jessie Bates, right? And then in the postseason, they both balled out. But you add a third guy to that list, and it's insane because, as we saw in the preseason, that is how Daxton Hill can be used on blitzes, as we saw with him rushing towards Daniel Jones, who almost got his head decapitated on that play from Dax Hill. And that's different things that you can do with them, different looks that you can do with all three. And so I woke up thinking about BBD, Bates, Bell, and Dax. And that's what the new trio is, I think, on the defensive end. And I think that they're going to give a lot of teams fits.
Poison.
Facts.
Poison.
Facts. So, yeah, it's great to have Jessie Bates back. We pretty much figured it would be happening this way. So, not too big of a surprise, but it is just good to actually see him back there. This is happening right before they have the joint practices with the Rams. So I feel like this is the best time for him to come back to get those 2 weeks of practice and then be able to take the field. So I'm good with that. The next thing, we talked a little bit about Dax. What are your impressions of him? I feel like for me, it seems like this is the guy that I saw on tape, and he doesn't really look like a rookie. Like, I've heard people saying that Kyle Hamilton looks like a rookie. Dax Hill doesn't look like a rookie to me. He's not really making mistakes outside of a dropped interception the first time. He obviously made that play in the last preseason game, but he's also shown to me like his ability to chase down receivers, to come up in the run game. Like, this guy looks like the complete package to me, and I don't understand how he was available at 31. What about you?
Yeah. So let me stop joking. Man, I'm excited. Even from a health perspective too, think about this. That's less snaps that you're relying on a guy like a Jermaine Pratt or somebody like that too, because you got to think in these intricate packages. Maybe that's less snaps for him. Maybe that's less snaps for ADG, especially coming off of an injury like early in the season. So it relieves people. I think that the Bengals, for the first time in my life, I feel like are maybe like at the I know they're not the first to do this, but I feel like there might be at the cutting edge of like the new age of defense in the NFL, like where it's just straight up versatility. We do still have a prototypical linebacker where a lot of teams are kind of getting away from that in Logan Wilson. But I just think that Dax Hill just looked so comfortable. Even on the preseason week 1, the near interception kind of reminded me of we didn't even talk about Cam Taylor-Britt because he's got the core injury or whatever. Kind of reminded me of some of the stuff that we saw from an athleticism profile of Cam Taylor-Britt in practice. it just opens up the door for so many different ways that you could play this defense where it doesn't put pressure on guys to be flung into these situations where you're putting a lot of wear and tear on these guys. And I just think long terms for the durability of a whole entire season, I think it bodes well for a lot of guys. And I think a lot of guys that'll keep them fresh. A guy like Dax Hill, year one, isn't particularly like looking at like, I want to get these type of numbers. Like he wants to have an impact, not be a problem, make plays, and contribute to a Super Bowl winning team, right? So you don't have that there. Then you factor in guys like ADG, who wants to come out and say, let me have a whole entire full season. That's important to him. So I don't think guys are going to mind like them coming off the field. I think it's kind of fun when guys get out the film room and then they get into their week of game plan. They say, man, what are we lining? What are we doing this week? And it's like this scientist that's creating some things to figure out what your offense does best, and we're taking that away this week. And if you could beat us that way, so be it. But then you got to deal with our offense that we believe will also be a top 5 offense as well. And I just don't see how other people don't see that right now. It's too much versatility. I'm excited.
And speaking of offense, I could easily argue that the next most important rookie that everyone was looking at was definitely Cordell Volson, right? He got the start, goes in against the Giant starters in week 2. I thought that he looked good. For me, obviously he made like one mistake, but I think that was a communication error where he gave up the sack. But I never really sat there and was like, okay, Cordell Volson is playing horrible or anything like that. And for me, whenever I don't notice a guy getting beat and the defender getting into the backfield, to me, you generally did good. Now, Pro Football Focus, they gave a bad pass blocking grade, which is crazy to me because it's like we saw Jackson Carman the week before, and I think he ended up with a 19. They gave Volson a 25. Yeah, I think it was like a 25 in pass protection. I don't know if it was just because of him getting beat on that play, but I thought the kid played well. I didn't come away from that game saying, hey, I have doubts about Cordell Volson. I came away from that game saying this guy looks like he's going to be the left guard. Like he's got that position in the chokehold for me. What about you with your thoughts on Volson after the game?
I feel like Volson, like we said, he's got that dog in him. And I think, it's a rookie. One mistake can lead to something really, really bad happening. I just don't think that he's a guy that's going to make many mistakes. And I just think that his effort along with just technique, I like his hand placement throughout the game. PFF, I think, had him credited for 4 pressures. I saw 3, and out of the 3, I thought 2 were on him. And you're talking about a guy that had, I need to look this up again. I had that written down, but he had a substantial amount of snaps too. So it's not like a small sample size. So
yeah, he played like the whole game, if I'm not mistaken. Right. Like he was in there the whole time. The other thing I say is as much, because even if I get down on guys like Adeniji, I get them their props.
Adeniji came back strong later in that game.
Adeniji looked way better and way more comfortable at left tackle. Like he got beat once, but I think it was night and day, me personally, between him at guard and him at tackle. He definitely needs to stay at tackle for sure. But
the other thing about Volson too, I just want to say is that I thought that he was really good at passing his guy off, which was always like a communication thing with them dealing with stunts. We see a couple of clips that you guys are watching on our YouTube. We appreciate you. But on that, where he was really good at that, and that's just, smart. And then guys like La'el Collins saying that, man, this rookie is like, he's really easy. He's a quick learner. He's got all the things that you need to succeed. And the number one factor that I think that a lot of people aren't factoring in is that his job is going to get so much easier playing next to Jonah and Teddy. So and that's something that we haven't seen. So we're talking about second level guys that he's playing next to, that he's trying to get to play at a higher level, like with him. Whereas you got these guys that have been there, proven, and are really good at what they do. That's going to elevate his game as well.
Facts, for sure. And that's why it was so important to have him in that situation, as you talked about, with the reserves, going against starters for the Giants defensive line, which aren't slouches by any stretch of the imagination. Another big controversial play from the game, Thad Moss and his block. When I first watched it, I pretty much was like, that's just a cut block. You know, that I used to have to do that when I was in high school, especially if you're a smaller guy. That's what you generally do. Because if you go up top, you're going to get put pretty much on your ass. So for me, it was just like a guy trying to do something to make this roster. When you talk about it, I believe it was Duke Tobin came out and said that the tight ends needed to show him that they deserve to make this roster. One of the things about Moss, everybody has always criticized his blocking. Can he block? Can he do this? So to be able to come up off of a Kayvon Thibodeau and be able to make a play, a legal block, and he's done that. He actually had a couple of good blocks within that game, I thought was solid. Rich Eisen immediately said that it was a dirty play and all of this and that, but then started backtracking. Once actual football players came out and started saying, hey, that's a legal block, he admitted that he was wrong, admitted it that it wasn't dirty. Zen, what were your thoughts on this play?
Initially, I thought the block was unnecessary. I didn't think it was illegal. And this is quick, just me watching the game. I'm watching the game on my phone, like on the beach. so I'm like looking at it. I'm not really paying attention too much. I'm like, I hated how that looked. Revising and looking back at it, I just thought, like, I said it was unnecessary because I'm just thinking like preseason. The angle right here is not as good as the back angle from the all-22 is a little bit different, where he looks like he's coming in. And I feel like Kayvon Thibodeau is anticipating it, but instead of putting his hand down or jumping over it, he like tries to take on the impact of it, which was really awkward and weird to me. And I just think it doesn't, to me, it's always about the intention and everything like that. I just think that that's a standard block that gets done every week. I said it was unnecessary because I just feel like in a preseason game, is it really worth it? I just think that's what the play was called for. So like when I go back and look at it, I don't really see anything wrong with it. It's hard for me to say if it was the other way around and he did that block to like, you know what I'm saying? Like Trey Hendrickson coming, like, how would I feel about it? Like, I'm not really sure. I just felt like, you kind of hit on it because it is a preseason game and he's trying to make the roster, like maybe he's going a little bit harder on it. But I just think that like a veteran guy probably wouldn't make that block like right there at that spot just because of the nature of the business and how this thing goes. And players kind of have like a hidden society a little bit with it too.
Some people say, and I agree, like Kayvon didn't really counter that move like he was supposed to. Like you're supposed to try to push him down or something like that and move. And he like literally didn't do that at all. Like, so for me, like, and we saw it happen, also.
Man, I watched the Giants do it. I watched the Giants do it on the play. I just was looking at highlights. Like the next series, they literally do the same exact block. And earlier in the game, they do the same type of block where you're taking all that weak side action and you're pushing it down. Then the guy comes right there and he catches the end. So he seals in and get it, so
just a cut block, guys. Whenever you see a running back try to block a lineman, look at what they do when they try to do it. They usually go for the legs and go for the cut block every time.
I thought Thibodeau had a weird reaction to it. I will say this, and I know this doesn't, wrong is wrong, right is right. But say that block was on a dude y'all never heard of. Nobody would even we wouldn't even be talking about it right now. Like the fact that it was on Kayvon Thibodeau is the reason why it was even a thing that night.
Yeah, it was kind of crazy to see a cut block get blown up like that. A perfectly legal move that happens literally all the time. But Zim, wanted to get your other thoughts on the preseason so far.
I thought the game was pretty encouraging on a lot of different things. I thought the kid Hood had a really bad game. I don't think he'll be back or whatever or make the roster. I thought that he contributed to a large chunk of the amount of yards that they had. They had a lot of pluses on their side that we're not going to go over. But I thought Kwame Lassiter and Pryor, I have a theory. I feel like the Bengals are somewhat kind of hiding them or limiting some of their snaps a little bit because I think they think that a team would just scoop them up. But I thought Lassiter finally got his chances. He looked really good. I think 77 catches, 91 yards. I mean, bro, like these dudes, Pryor and Lassiter are straight. I wanted to ask you, who are your 6 wide receivers that you think that make this roster?
6 wide receivers off the top
on
of
the spot.
The Migos are making it. I think
That's
Trent
3
Taylor definitely makes it. He's had a good season, which a lot of people haven't talked about. I'd probably say after that, Stanley Morgan definitely makes it as the ace. And I go back and forth on this. I honestly think Trenton Irwin will still be the 6 because I think Lassiter and Pryor, like last week it was Pryor's game, this week it was Lassiter's game, but I haven't
Right.
seen the consistency. And I think in order for them to push a guy like a Mike Thomas, or actually Mike Thomas, how did I forget him? Mike Thomas off of the roster, it would have to be something that they've shown in practice or something that they bring to special teams. Which for me, I think Zach Taylor is going to remember Damian Willis and not fall too hard or too in love for the practice squad or for these guys that could be on the practice squad. I honestly think that they'll make the practice squad. I know a lot of people.
You think that they'll go? There's some teams though that are really wide receiver needy.
There are, but I think with other cuts that will happen, as we've seen Auden Tate, there's going to be other teams where more notable receivers are going to get cut by the end. And so I think when those guys are out there, they'll still be able to be on the practice squad. Now, there is a chance that during the season, if injuries come up, a team could sign them away. But I think for now, they would be safe with them there. I do not to take anything away from those guys. I think that they have shown potential, especially Lassiter last game and Pryor. But I just think right now, that experience, and especially if you're going into a situation where you're going to be in a Super Bowl, they probably want to have experienced veterans out there for now.
Do you think they make a play now? You know, all the chatter was before, like they make a play. We even had conversations about OBJ and stuff. Now seeing what we've seen from Trent Taylor, guys like, you know, like I feel like Mike Thomas has almost been given a job. I think he just makes it. But given what we know, based off of especially Trent Taylor and what he offers you in the punt return game, and then looking at like the depth and what these guys just did in these preseason games, do you think that they even look at wide receivers if a guy gets dropped off?
Oh, yeah. I think I remember a while ago they were talking about the Bengals were still looking for another like notable receiver. I think it could be OBJ, as you said, throughout the season. I think that it could be another guy that gets cut somewhere that might be looking to join an organization where they can win now. So I think that they'll definitely be monitoring it. It could be one of those situations where a guy makes it, they wait till waivers happen, and then that guy gets released in favor of someone else. So we'll have to see what that's like. Right. But we do have 96 people watching. If you are watching right now, hit that subscribe button. I'm going to give you 5 seconds because if not, you are going to be a member of the flock. You want to rock with the flock. If you don't want to rock with the flock, the purple people, hit that subscribe button in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right. If you're subscribed now, that brings a smile to my face. And speaking of smiles, Zim,
hold on, real quick. Hold on. I got a couple. I just got through the wide thing. Just a couple notes. Jalen Davis looked really good. I thought he was mirroring and paralleling what Mike Hilton, I think, is going to do a lot this season, considering now that we have more coverage. I thought Jalen Davis is a lock. I love the way that he played. I think Volson is clearly his job. Even Munoz on the broadcast talked about his pad level. Made a couple mistakes. Deontay Smith, who I think we really like, or at least I really like a lot, the 2 holding penalties really killed them. I thought one of the things that held the Bengals back this past season was the red zone efficiency, and I think that they just look just as bad. So if you're looking for some things to kind of, you know what I mean, like kind of gravitate and say, hey, look, I want to get this better or whatever, I think the red zone, I thought Drew Chrisman looked pretty daggone good. His tackle on that one punt is amazing because he showed the athleticism to get over there and everything like that too. I also noticed Spence and Gunther a lot too. And we'll talk about, I guess, roster cuts like pretty soon at some point. One thing I didn't notice was Zach Carter. And one thing we were talking about on the Spaces earlier today, I think Tyler Shelvin, because he's just a second-year guy, I think that he'll make the initial roster. But
I don't know, bro.
It's tough. But I think he might be the odd man out. But when I tell you, he has not looked good at all against these guys. Like, I thought that was one thing that really stood out to me a lot, is that Gunther and Spence do stand out and they flash, even though Gunther didn't have the greatest game this time. But Zach Carter made a couple of different plays, but he didn't really flash as much too. And I want to see more from Zach Carter because I think that he is a major, major key to this pass rush early, at some point in the season. But I think Shelvin was a guy too that I just didn't see.
Yeah, I didn't see it with Shelvin and him. I think one of the games he only played a snap. But Clay Johnson was another dude that we didn't talk about. He had 20 tackles. So I think
Cincinnati Pod. If you follow on Twitter, Cincinnati Pod put out a really good graphic for us or whatever. But Cincinnati Pod, 20 tackle Clay, big play Clay. You might remember him from 4-for-1 in the Titans game. But I just thought that I don't care if it's preseason 20 tackles is 20 tackles.
Big play Clay definitely had a smile on his face after the 20 tackles. But Zim, talk to us about our friends at Pierce Dental.
Pierce Dental Group, I really, really love these people so much. I think when we go to week 1, we're going to pull up on them and we're going to have a good time there too. So it's located downtown in Cincinnati. If you hadn't heard, down at near Fountain Square, Pierce Dental Group is where your confidence starts here. If you need a dentist, you need to join the Pierce Dental Group in Cincinnati. If you don't live in the Cincinnati area, it does not matter. You can get a free consultation online. I have done it myself. My wife has done it on herself. And so now we're going to go get some work done, but we're trying to increase our smile. I want to be able to walk in the room and smile confidently, especially online. I know this isn't the greatest face, but I'll be damned if I don't have a great smile with Pierce Dental Group.
So we kind of talked a little bit about wide receivers, Kwame Lassiter, those guys making the roster. One of the points I said is that there could be some other guys with notable names out there on the market. The Falcons just released Auden Tate and Geronimo Allison. I personally think the Bengals could bring Tate back because 2 things. Number one, he's familiar with the system. He's already got that relationship with the Bengals. Number 2, a lot of people forget one of the things that the Bengals fans, we wanted to see them do was use Auden Tate at tight end, right? He got in some snaps on it last year with the Bengals having some injury issues with Drew Sample being out, having some question marks, not knowing whether Thad Moss is the guy. I think that that's a solution that they could potentially use with bringing Auden Tate back to the Natties. And what are your thoughts on Auden Tate?
I think early on at the beginning of this past 2021 season, it was very brief and people don't remember this, but his agent at the time put out a statement that said that he was looking for a trade. People don't remember that part, I think. And Auden Tate knew from a depth chart perspective, he probably wouldn't get the opportunities. And in the offense itself, even going into the Super Bowl, I thought he was coming back and he was healthy at one point, and there was a chance where they released him off of the list. And I thought it was a chance that he could have played, and they opted not to even play him in that game. And I thought he could have been a big help, especially when you talk about the red zone deficiencies. I just don't think there's a spot for him. He's never had separation. People that say just convert him to a tight end, it's just not that easy, at this level, this late in the game. I think it's possible, but I just think that a lot of teams aren't going to buy into a developmental guy that you got to get ready to block in the NFL that's only caught passes. There are currently tight ends that they're clamoring over, like Isaiah Likely, who I think, if you're looking at it like how we're looking at it, if you gave me Auden Tate and just said, go give me a couple blocks or be able to use, like, what's the difference? Like that, like he would really flourish in the league. I just don't think that maybe it's his body frame is a little bit more lean than what it needs to be. He's got to pick up more pounds or whatever, but you can't put him in line on any formation. So when you put him out like that, now he's matched up with corners that are just as fast as him, and it's just not a favorable matchup a lot of times. You need to get him matched up with a linebacker, and that's the problem with Auden Tate, is that you have to throw jump ball situations because he's not going to get separation.
For sure. So, yeah, we'll see where Auden Tate lands. Hopefully it's on the roster, preferably Cincinnati, but hoping that he just lands somewhere, and wish best of luck to him. But the preseason, this is getting towards those cut downs. Are there any waiver spots do you think that we need to target? Me personally, I probably feel like offensive line, sure, corner potentially, And I'm probably looking at tight end for sure. Like whoever can come in that's established as a reserve tight end. I mean, I was looking for that even with Drew Sample on the roster. You guys already know where I'm at with that. But those will be mine. Are there any for you that you would prioritize?
Man, when you said tight end, I hadn't thought about that. But I would like to have a legit insurance policy behind Hayden Hurst. And I don't know if y'all have seen the injuries that have happened in Tampa Bay. It doesn't look as promising as it once looked before the season. And if you're telling me that's not a Super Bowl capable team, I still go back to Rob Gronkowski, who was going out of his way. This isn't like I'm just making this up. Going out of his way to show his love for Joe Burrow. You're talking about a guy that can randomly just come off the couch and give you 800, 900 yards, as you had showed me, Ace, when I doubted Rob Gronkowski. 900 yards, only played like 8 games. Yeah, it had like 8, 9 touchdowns. You want to solve the red zone? You want to win a Super Bowl? I know it sounds crazy, but I think he thinks in his head he's got one good season left. And I just think that the amount of cap space on a half-year rental type deal, I think you make it happen and you figure out a way. Him or OBJ, either one of those.
What if we could get both? Wouldn't that be crazy? What if we got both? That's what I was just thinking in my head, right? Like,
hey, bro, I'm gonna tell y'all like this. If y'all ever thought I was turned, if you ever thought I was like very excited and passionate about the Bengals, give me Gronk or OBJ. If you gave me both, I promise you, we're not losing a game, bro. Like I will spot teams 14. I will spot you 14 points. I swear to goodness. If you're a bum team, I will spot you 14 points, and the Bengals will still win that game. That would be like the most unstoppable offense you've ever seen, and it's not that far-fetched. These guys want like 6 to 8 million, which don't affect the cap for our upcoming season. Like it's not a big deal like that. But if we're being real, we need offensive, that is real, but really real. Offensive line depth and cornerback because of the Cam Taylor-Britt situation. And then I also feel like I was talking to a guy from the Jets earlier, and Chiefs have an influx of edge guys and stuff too. I think it's really important that Zach Carter shows something, because at the very least, there are guys like Vinny Curry's of the world that are potentially about to get cut. And I just think some of these guys like that, the Bengals might opt to get a more solidified guy like that on their roster to say, let's go and get him. I know Gunther and the young boys are going to flash or whatever, but they need another guy that they can kind of rotate on the inside, whether it's 200-something snaps or 180 snaps. It doesn't matter. They need to be able to say, like, this guy does not hold us back in the pass rush. And I look at the Super Bowl. I've been telling you this all along. We came into the Super Bowl. We knew our offensive line wasn't good. The one thing that we didn't anticipate is that Matthew Stafford will go a whole entire game with no interior pressure. And I've always said this. I think that if you really, as time goes on, I think a lot more people are going to look at like the lack of interior pressure in that game. As bad as the offensive line was, I just think that was a big point of that game. And I think when teams get a chance to double team on Trey Hendrickson or whatever, and there's nobody else coming or whatever, it just makes it super easy for them.
No, for sure. We got to hope that BJ Hill and Zach Carter definitely step up in that role. You talked about the Jets, bro. What about Mike White? Like, if Mike White hit waivers, are you going to go snag the GOAT as a backup quarterback?
No, absolutely not.
I am.
You want Mike White?
Sign me up for Mike White, bro. Sign me up for Mike White. I'm definitely down with that because he was cooking. But speaking of cooking, let's talk about our friends.
Give me Garner Minshew.
Best barbecue, where you can get your Uno wings and you can get your sour cream and onion wings. Play the damn music. Let's get it.
With them Uno wings. They tell me that them Uno wings will make you do the gritty. Them Uno wings will make you do the gritty. Uno wings. Come and get them Uno wings. Who they gonna beat them Uno wings. MB's got you with them Uno wings. They tell me that them Uno wings will make you do the gritty. The Uno wings will make you do the
You know, you guys know that that's the part that you look forward to every show. The Uno Wings commercial. You know it. Shout out to Midwest Best Barbecue. Can't wait to be there in a few weeks. Check out some of those sour cream and onion wings, the Uno wings, the brisket fries. Don't forget the brisket fries with the cheese on top with an Arnold Palmer. Me and Zim are definitely going to be in the building soon. So definitely be sure you check them out in Loveland 669 Justice Court. But man, let's get back into it. The Bengals are having joint practices with the Rams this week. I really appreciated this. I think that this was a smart move by Zach. Number one, it just, to me, brings in that motivation, right? Like, this is the team that you lost the Super Bowl to. Like, confetti got dropped on your head. They were celebrating and all of that. You've probably been thinking about that moment every single day. You've been like, you know, man, I can't believe we lost, but you can't run from it because they're in practice with you every day. And I feel like from a mental standpoint, that's a motivational tactic because it's going to be wired in their head. Not that it's not, that they don't want a Super Bowl, but now you're practicing against the same team that beat you. And I think that that is an excellent move by Coach Taylor to do that and work it out. And I think that if this is happening before the season, what better team to bring in and what better, you know, opponent to have to practice against other than the Rams? What are your thoughts on this, Em?
I just want to go back real quick. Do people realize that Jamar Chase wore Midwest Best Barbecue shirt? Like, I know the commercial. Like, I wanted to say that as soon as the commercial. Is that one of the greatest moments? Like, I think, like him with a Midwest. All right. I'm sorry, but that is crazy. Like, we talk about Midwest, and I know y'all like this song, or whatever. Jamar Chase had a Midwest Best Barbecue shirt on, and I just think
while he was streaming, like, not just
like I feel like that's the most rawest thing I've ever seen. Like, that was fire. Of anything that you could wear in the world, I'm gonna wear Uno Wings Midwest Best Barbecue shirt
for sure.
That's lit. All right, back to the practice. I feel like McVay and Zach are linked on a different level that we are not, privy to. Like, or I mean, we know about their relationship, and I think it's just thicker, and they're in the cutting edge of what I think the new NFL is going to be anyway, where they're going to have starters like, this is your time to get your real reps, and we want to control the atmosphere. Whereas in preseason games, so many things, so many moving parts, moving so fast, so much game management stuff. Like, no, this is a way to isolate our best players and see what we want to see, get them matched up, get our timing things. There's so much, like, I was watching this thing the other day, and I don't want to bore you guys, but there's so many different systems now where they're actually timing, like, how fast does a ball come out? Can my defender get to this spot, to this hash mark in this time frame? And I just think that Zach and McVay are at just the cutting edge of, like, the new NFL, where you don't play starters in preseason, as we're seeing a lot of starters go down, or impact players go down for opposing teams, because it's just so many moving parts and it's uncontrolled, because you got 10 guys in the field of play that you actually can't see, but you got like these 4 or 5 other guys that are getting blindside blocks. You get all this craziness that can happen to your roster. And I just think preseason is like the old wave, and this is the new wave. And I think one of the first things that happened was Jamar Chase was getting an interview, and they said, man, are you excited? Y'all going to have practices with the Rams? This is like a month ago. And he was like, oh, yeah? And his face kind of lit up. And I never forget that. I was like, oh, okay. It's a shame Jalen Ramsey isn't going to be there.
He's not going to be there?
I think he's still hurt, bro.
Oh man, that's I would have loved to have seen that. And
I think he's still hurt. I got Ryan fact check me, bro. Like, I think he's still hurt.
One question for you: are those refs gonna be there in the practice? Those same refs?
They was there the other day. Did you see when they were like when Lou was talking to them refs? Same crew and all that. Like, I think as fans, like, we just got a different perspective. When I talk to players and stuff, it's like, I had a real good conversation. A player showed me one where we were going over some of the photos and stuff. He was talking about, like, he had one where he was crying. He was like, yeah, like, I look at this, sometimes in the morning as motivation, but at the same time, I don't really, think about it probably as much as, like, you guys do. And I was like, yeah, that's kind of crazy. So I think as fans, we like, man, it's so daggone, fresh. But I just,
yeah, you can't dwell on it though, because think about how many fans, like, it's still fans to this day that won't rewatch the playoff loss from 2015. Like, I'm like, you got to face these things head on, and you got to have a short memory, because look at what happened to the Chiefs, I guess, last year, right? Like, they ended up losing to the Bucs and stuff like that, and that almost derailed their season until they woke up, ran into Cincinnati, and it got derailed again. But you can't keep dwelling on certain things like that, or else it'll just take over your mind mentally, and you'll never be able to get past it. And I think if they concentrate on that instead of what's happening right now, because the NFL is a situation where things just move on, I think if they can get past it, they can get right back there. And we all know that they definitely had the talent to get there. So hopefully they do pull that off.
I think it'll be good, because they're two good. They're guys that are really good friends, and I think they have each other's best interests out. So I do like that aspect of it. But at the same time, we hear about Osai getting into it at practice and stuff like that. And I know how the Rams players are. We saw that in that game. Like, I don't want to make this a conversation about who's dirty, who's not, but their mentality on the sport, I just think as a whole, is just a little bit different than what I thought the Bengals was. Like, when OBJ got hurt, we were all kneeling and praying. Whole place was quiet. When Joe got hurt and was rowling in pain, they just stepped right over him and kept it moving. I thought, like, the whole thing on the sideline with Aaron Donald, like, he has a track record of being a hothead, putting his helmet on, chasing guys after the game and stuff like that. Like, those are the things that people don't want to talk about. That's almost like taboo, because he's the best defensive player in the league. But he has a nasty mean streak to him that if he's on your team, you love it. But if he's not on your team, you're like, man, watch that dude right there. Like, I don't, like, somebody was telling me that on his face, like, I want to see Volson go against Aaron Donald. No, I don't. I think he'll kill him. I think I don't need to see that, because he doesn't have to go against Aaron Donald.
I would like to see it, just because if he's going to be able to, like, he's coming from a small college, right? If he's gonna have to get used to the Cam Haywards of the world, right, the guys that are like, who better to prep against than Aaron Donald? I'm not saying that Aaron Donald won't kill him, because I agree with you. He's gonna kill anybody. But I think, like, him getting the welcome to the NFL moment in practice from Aaron Donald is gonna definitely, I think, possibly help him out at the position. But yeah, I think he will get killed in that predicament. But
Ryan tells me that that Ramsey is practicing. I'm gonna tell y'all this right now.
Yes, sir.
That's the fight right there. That's the fight right there. Because
Uno was arguing with Eli Apple, so I already know with Ramsey it's about to go down.
I'm telling you right now, Ramsey, we witnessed it firsthand at that Super Bowl. He's the type of guy. He's a lot like me. If I take an L, I start to quiet down and I start to, like, focus a little bit more. Early in that game, chirping. He started getting them yards put on him. He started to, like, kind of like, I could see, like, that was the side of Jalen Ramsey. And then you go look at the mic'd up. He's like, man, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, bro, like, this never happens to me. I think that's still in his head. I think when he held that trophy that night, I think he said, man, thank God for my teammates, because they really bailed me out. Like, no funny stuff. Like, he didn't do much in that game to help his team out. There's a lot of different reps. I'm sure he could say, well, I played him really good on that. But anytime they took a shot against him, it was a success. So, like, in the back of his mind, he's going to carry that to practice. And in Jamar's mind, he's the real triple crown dude. He feels like he can get it. He feels like he's the best wide receiver right now in the league. He ain't going to tell you on that list right now, but I know he feels like he's the best wide receiver in the league right now. So them two dudes come in together like that, and then you talk about, like, T. Higgins going to get him some too. Like, I just think that Jalen Ramsey hadn't seen somebody challenge him, because you got to think the opponents too that they were playing too. I kept on saying that before that game. I'm like, what vertical threats did they see? Like, they kept on saying Debo going across, like, on all these, all these drag routes and stuff like that. The first time he saw a vertical threat was Mike Evans, and Mike Evans put that bomb on his head. So, like, a lot of this, and Jalen Ramsey is one of the best corners in the league, but Jamar Chase and T. Higgins and company are very different. And I know that Jalen Ramsey knows that. And I know he's going to prove that. And I know Jamar Chase is super strong. And I think that's going to collide. And that's going to be a moment that we're all going to see.
For sure, for sure. Well, coming up on Thursday, we'll be previewing the preseason game versus the Rams. So definitely be sure to hit that notification bell. Make sure you tapped in. Make sure you subscribe. Throw us some comments. We'd love to hear you guys. And if you're looking to listen to this in audio form and you can't watch the videos while you're driving, definitely be sure to check us out in the Apple Podcasts or wherever you get it, whether it's Spotify, Stitcher, wherever you get it, you can tap in with us. We're even on Google Podcasts as well if you want to listen to us at work. But yeah, that wraps up the show. Appreciate you guys for listening to the Wincinnati podcast.
Yes, sir. Hello, world. We got a special show as always. TJ Houshmandzadeh, Jimmy Chase, Coach Jimmy Burrow.
Exciting time to be a Bengals
How do you
fan.
balance being a professional athlete and family obligation? These are top 5 Bengals of all time.
All time? Yeah. Shock the world.